Hello everyone, I'm Weather from the Summer School Discord, and I'm here to follow Jungle Jarvan in a mentoring review. And as always, I'm going to start this game with talking about win conditions. So, starting with our team that we're following, the win condition is pretty clear that you want to be a team fighting, like late game team fighting team. You brought a lot of crowd control with you, and you brought some scaling between the Vayne and the Gangplank. Jarvan's got a good amount of early gank pressure by the nature of the champion, but he doesn't become useless later. He does, however, switch roles pretty drastically come later into the game. So what you have in Gangplank is a good amount of wave clear and scaling. This isn't a good lane ever really to gank for unless it's super free because he doesn't have a whole lot of setup and he is going to scale kind of regardless of your impact in that lane. If the Gangplank is playing it correctly, he's also going to let a lot of waves crash against his turret. Sometimes that's not the case though. Maybe he gets lucky and starts bullying them out, the enemy laner out, so then you can start looking into this lane. But you do have a ton of setup between your mid and your bot side. Your mid is Lissandra, who has like I think three things of CC between a slow, like a root, and then her ultimate. And then bot lane also has like four things of CC. Vayne's Condemn, Leona Ultimate, Leona's Stun, and then Leona's E, which roots for a while. So those lanes are really easy to gank, and Gangplank's going to scale regardless. Your win condition for this team is going to pretty much be looking for a four-man team fight with Gangplank ulting in, or late enough in the game where Gangplank can be at the start of a fight and landing barrel combos. Um, Judging by their team comp, you're going to have a pretty good time if you can get to late game, but your weakness is they got a lot of poke, they got a lot of sustain, and they've got Draven for like a kind of early mid-game spike. And Bard is an early mid-game spike with a lot of pick potential. What this means is they're going to be looking to siege you guys down early mid-game with a little bit of lead between the Jace and the Draven. But those are the two lanes you should have an easy time getting ahead. To close out a game, you're going to have to make sure you kill the Jace. That's going to be your biggest condition to win the game. Like, get turrets, you're going to need to kill the Jace. And Jace is usually a champion that's left alone in a wave because he has such easy wave clear. So you should be able to pick him late game pretty easily. I would be as Jarvan focusing on mid lane and bottom lane. You have tons of setup, and those are easy lanes. Like, those are strong lanes for the enemy team, but also they're not very heavy escape lanes. These are really easy lanes for you to go into. Um, I would be doing a standard clear towards top side. At level 3, just glance up here, maybe ward for your top laner, recall, and go straight bottom and see what you can get. You should be able to gank bottom by like 3.5 to 4 minutes, and that's going to be where you try and set up your lead. That's early enough to make it so that they probably haven't harassed your lane to hell, and early enough to make it so you can try and take advantage of their lack of vision. All right, so that's what I think I would be trying to do to set up for your mid-late game. Now, when your team doesn't set up vision for you, you go over and you ward this. This is excellent. You should ward that, not just your standard. You should ward that. Um, and that's just because they have an easy invade route. But then your Lissandra comes over here and then it's secured. Okay, that's fine. It's just that your Vayne was really slow to get out, and I didn't know that your Lissandra was going to be positioning over here. I thought she was going to sit at turret. So that's fine. Alright, so you already recognize that your bottom lane is feeding, or not feeding, but they've died once already, which means you're probably going to have to change your plan. Your plan was going to be to gank bottom early, but now that's not going to really be an option because they're going to be behind in summoners usually, behind in levels, and behind in items. So at level 4, they're not going to be behind in items, but they don't have heal, so that's a little bit risky. And if they ping the Draven's Flash and the Bard's Flash, maybe you'd still want to go for it, but you're definitely going to be levels behind. At least one level behind. And that's going to probably be their level 3 whenever they have all of their kit to your level 2 whenever, like, maybe even Vayne's only level 1 by the time you get down here. So I would be looking for your mid lane gank. After red, then I would be looking to try and do something middle. And setting up for it as best I can if not ganking mid, because this is where you're going to want to push your advantage. Garen's not going to be able, you're not going to get a kill top lane, especially not with this setup. So while you're doing all of your camps, you need to be looking around at the map and seeing where you can put advantages. Now, their Yasuo, I don't think is going to be able to dive a gangplank, so I wouldn't even be looking up into this to ward this. This wave is in a very safe spot for him. I would just be looking for mid. So, okay, you choose to invade here, and I strongly disagree with this invade. And you're not looking at your map. Your laners do not have priority to come help you. Your laners are definitely going to be later than their laners. The Jace is going to be able to come, and the Garen is going to be able to come before your Lysandra. And your Lysandra is even low on mana, so if she did come, she has 2 spells. So by doing this invade right here, you're putting yourself in an unnecessary risky position, and even if you caught them doing this buff, I I don't think that it would be smart to take this fight because he flashes away, right? The Yasuo flashes away. So then you like wait around here for a little while. You can't take the blue buff in most situations, and their laners are coming down to collapse on you. You've already used your stuff to try and get the Yasuo, so you don't have anything for the collapse. This is a very risky and unnecessary invade. You're not watching your own lanes. Your ward also over here and over here, these are not going to find the enemy jungle fast enough. I really don't like that invade. You did end up getting something, but I really don't like that. That was a good gank. Um, if you want to talk about like what you could have been doing though, right? Everything is a kind of an opportunity cost. So, right, the Jace could have come down to stop you. So while you're stealing blue buff, right, you think you're counter jungling, you think you're doing a great job. Look at the Jace's positioning. Is this not an easy gank for you now? Right? Jace is up in melee. Lysandra flashes on him in W's, right? Just this happens. Exactly this. And you're here. You could have gotten this. But because of your play over here, right? Just your decision to make this risky play, by the way, this is a risky play. It pays off with a blue buff, right? That's all it gives you. When you could have saved your Lysandra's life, 100% saved your life. And you might be blaming your laner for like overextending or overstaying or something like that. That's why she died over here. She died, but you could have prevented it. Now you know that the Jace doesn't have anything though, so I would be looking to return gank this. This is a huge place for you to make it take an advantage, get an advantage. And depending upon how much gold you have here, I would be looking to shop. You do find the Yasuo though. Okay. Yeah, I wasn't actually watching the Yasuo. I didn't think he would be there. That's really weird. What the heck is he doing over here? He literally just came into proxy a wave? He literally just came into proxy a wave. There's no other thing. I have no idea what he's doing. And now you want to talk about opportunity costs, right? Because whenever you showed up to this fight late, you ended up having to flash to chase for the kill, which means that you would have also been able to get this kill. Everything has an opportunity cost. And he shouldn't have fucking been here to begin with, though. In reality, he should have been looking to gank bottom, and see, that would have been a kill if he had just ganked bottom instead of, proxying away for some reason. That's an unnecessary chase. This, yeah, I would not have showed up bottom here. And there's not only opportunity costs, but you can sometimes unintentionally end up baiting your team with what you do. You showing up here means that you think you can win this fight. Literally, that's all it means. You think you can win this fight. And they still have their combat summoners, heal and ignite. So they're not keeping track of it and you're not keeping track of it. And if you haven't seen the ping and know the timer, you assume everything is up. So in this fight where they have heal and ignite, and you have at best a flash, there's no way you win this. There's no way. Plus, the Yasuo could still be here. What if there was a fruit right up here, right? What if the fruit spawned, and then he healed up on that and came down to collapse on this afterwards? There was no way this was going to work out. And look at opportunity costs. You could have come mid. If you're looking for something to gank, you could have just followed the Yasuo mid and followed up with this. Your Lissandra still has her CC, the Jace doesn't have flash, you could easily EQ combo him, you have red buff to chase him down a short ways. This is an opportunity cost, and instead you're trying to help bottom. You really don't want to gank a lane that's losing like this unless you have an advantage. And right here, there is no advantage. You're fighting in their minion wave, and there's a 2v2. You don't know what summoners they have either. So at best case, this is no advantage. At worst case, you're at a disadvantage. And see, look at this. Here comes out the heal and stuff, right? No, they don't even need it. They only ignite. If you really wanted to try and force something bottom, you should have done a camp and then looked to go bottom. That way you would have had a man advantage. Your Lissandra's also pinging, or no, no, that was Jace, my bad. Okay. So you see the Bard. You're not going to get him, though. It's a Bard. I would have waited for the Bard to either go in, or I would have... Yeah. So opportunity cost, again, opportunity cost. You're not judging fights very well, and you're not looking at the map completely. You're thinking primarily about counter jungling because that was your blue buff steal instead of ganking. And this was a very bad play because you didn't know where the Yasuo was. And you knew the enemy laners could respond quicker than your own laners. So the only reason you'd be doing this is if you think you can 1v1 the Yasuo, and you have a good chance to do that. But at the same time, he could have probably gotten level 3 as well, and then if he was already taken his blue buff, that would have just been a waste of time, right? Your opportunity cost here, how about you just walk like this, right? How about you just walk like this? You avoid the Bard, you get this far without him noticing. Your Lissandra has flash W's. Her E could also get her on there like what this is happening. But instead, you tunnel onto the Bard, and you give up this kill. This is a free kill. This is your decision to chase the Bard, and this was over here. So once again, you kill your Lissandra. You killed your Lissandra twice. The first time you stole blue buff, and the second time when tunneling on the Bard. Yeah, that's pretty greedy too. You were taking that fight, and your assumption, right, was that you were just going to bait them into attacking you under turret. Once you use your Q to poke, you can't really fight them. And you decide to go in, walk up for this. They're not going to take the turret here, so the only thing you're doing is CSing, right? Then why not just CS? You know that the Garen didn't have ult. You could have EQ'd out. So yeah, you tunnel for kills a little bit with the Bard. You don't have very much team play with your invades and with your ganking. You're not watching the map for where you can gank. And because you died earlier to this, right, now you do lose this turret. So far, you've killed your Lysandra twice, and you've also lost her turret. With opportunity costs and greed. You Okay, you have both your wards out already, but they're dead. So I'm guessing you were warding lane. You're pathing, I'm guessing you'd plan on pathing down in order to get to blue after this. So, but you're leaving your buffs up for a considerable amount of time. I know you're trying to hold mid, and that's why you were mid, but you really didn't need to be mid. Like, the way you were mid, you needed to be a lot safer and just mooching experience. But yeah, you should have lost your buffs at this point because you waited too long to go and get them. See? Because you greed again for this camp, like, I'm going to do a full clear mentality. You lost your Raptors and you lost your red buff, and the Yasuo is now going to be able to collapse on your team. So your pathing choice is also incredibly greedy. You think just about the full clear and not about what the enemy team can do to you. You're not about what you can do for your team. And now you're going to potentially lose another buff. And this game, if you're thinking like, oh, I can't do anything because their mid laner's so far ahead, right? You put your mid laner behind with your opportunity costs. And now you've lost two turrets, potentially. Because if you were clearing correctly, you would have already been at your red buff. Yasuo wouldn't have been able to steal it, so Yasuo wouldn't have been able to path down like this and flank. Lysandra wouldn't have had to flash up like this. She could have kited to you, would have forced off the Jace, and would have prevented this entire siege. You have very low team play. And okay, so how do you fix team play, right? Well, it's tricky to fix team play because for starters, you're going on the Bard, right? You thought you had a free kill. That's all you could have been. That's really the only reason I can fathom you would have gone for this because it was a free kill. Whenever you had an opportunity to get a free kill over here, I don't know what exactly your mindset could be because to me this seems like an obvious play. Um, what I really think you should be doing in order to try and improve this is, for starters, work on trying to create numbers advantages. Because a lot of your plays so far have been putting yourself at number disadvantages in a variety of situations. So your gank bottom was a 2v2. There was no numbers advantage. Over here, your play was a 1v1 and a 1v1. Over here, your play could have potentially turned into a 3 for the enemy team versus 1 of you. All of these plays have that same kind of thing in common where you could have been outnumbered. So here is where we talk about how you decide whether or not a play is smart, right? Whenever you go in on a play, you should always count two ways. And to start, you need to count both these ways every time you're about to play, do any play with engaging. The first way you count is what is the maximum amount of enemy people that can show up, enemy players that can show up. The maximum. So if you're in their jungle and you don't know where the Yasuo is, that's already one, right? That's already one. So 1v1 you're accepting, right? 1v1. But then you're not thinking about the waves. You're not acknowledging this aspect of where a number advantage could be. You're not going to kill the Yasuo in 2 seconds. He's going to start walking away from you. That's at least a 5-second fight. And if he has flash, that's like a 9 to 10-second fight. That's enough for them to walk down. So the maximum is 3. The second way you count is what's the minimum amount of people that can show up for your team. And the minimum is always pretty much 1. Always pretty much 1 whenever you're doing something like this. Otherwise, like whenever you're playing bot lane right here, the minimum number was 2 whenever you were ganking, because of course Leona was going to support you in that. The minimum here was 2. But whenever you're doing a play like this, the minimum number, especially in lower ratings, it's always 1. So the only time you go in on a play like this is whenever you count and it's a 1v1 and you know you can win. Or it's a 1v0. If you see the Yasuo's down bottom, you can then go in and take the blue for free. You didn't know he was going to fucking proxy this wave, though. Trust me, you didn't know that. So this was not a very safe take. And your play on the Bard, you could have made this a 2v1, at least initially. At least initially. And with the amount of crowd control you had, that would have been enough here. And again, with this play, you could have walked middle and created that 2v1 again, instead of risking the 1v3. That's the first way you can start worrying about team play. The second way you can start worrying about team play is to start trying to ward for your laners. It'll start putting you in better positions to respond to things, right? So you're using your wards aggressively. Like you put a ward over here and you put a ward over here. And by the way, those didn't see anything, right? Those didn't see the Yasuo, those didn't see the Garen, those didn't see anything. Nothing. Nothing. They didn't see anything. And they didn't even secure this because the Yasuo could have come in like this. Or he could have come in like this. Or he could have come in like this, right? All of these different ways he could have gotten to this blue buff, and it wasn't safe for you to do it. Your wards weren't good over here. So by warding for your laner, that's one way you can contribute to them winning lane without you actually having to gank for them. So for example, I said I wouldn't even go up to ward for the gangplank over here, but this is a matchup you know you don't really want to have an effect on, and you know you don't want the enemy jungler to have an effect on. So what do? You drop a ward instead of ganking for it, and then you look for something else. So that's the second way you can start doing team play. Another way you can start doing team play is by looking at whenever you're not like looking at who's behind, right? But by looking at where you can get ahead. It may sound counterintuitive because whenever someone's losing, you know, you want to put them back into the game. Well, the best way you can respond to pressure, the best way, is to create pressure of your own. You know how you can easily deal with a fed Draven? Like a Lissandra ultimate, right? So your decision to go down bottom was late to try and help them. It didn't have numbers. You didn't know even if the Yasuo had stayed and was going to come in over here and make it a 3v2. So you had no advantage over here. You had no control on this side of the map. And you were going to a losing lane. If you can create an advantage where you have a 3v2, then you have a chance. But there's a lot of other things you need to be worrying about. Like if their AD carry for your team has to sacrifice like 2 waves of minions on the turret to chase down this kill, that might not even be worth it. So I would be looking to play into a more adaptive win condition. So far, you have only thought about this, and you greeted on your jungle route. Greeting on your jungle route is an entirely different thing. You don't know, you don't have any vision control of your own jungle, which could be partially controlled by if you get a control ward, right? Put a pink out here. Now you know where the Yasuo is going, and he wouldn't have been able to take your red, right? It also helps secure the gangplank from Jace roams. Your vision this game has been greedy to only steal a blue buff. That's all your vision has been so far. Your jungle pathing has been greedy to steal a blue buff and to try for a full clear, which ended up losing you your red buff. And you ignore your laners whenever you have gank opportunities. This is that numbering thing, right? That counting thing. You go into that fight so early without counting. But you do end up collapsing well. I still would have waited a little bit longer, or would have liked for you to wait a little bit longer. It ends up working out, but yeah. The only reason this fight works out is because I don't know. I don't know. I don't think that was a good fight. Bard leaves, Yasuo leaves, and Draven doesn't show up. But it was smart for the Bard to leave, and it was smart for the Yasuo to leave. I would have just forced them off my blue buff, like what you did, and walked away. You look back into that, and you trade a kill for a kill. Yeah, I guess that it was pretty good because the Yasuo was low. I'll take that back. I would have waited a few seconds longer still to try and make sure my team was ready to show up, but I would have still taken that. You're right. This honestly couldn't have played any better. So you did the right thing there. I do agree with you doing your blue buff, and I think that you showed up in a good amount of time to go and try and help mid. The only way that would have worked is if she also was able to R herself, um, but I don't think she did that. Look at the level disadvantage you're going in at, for starters. That's a big part of why this play doesn't work out. A big part of it. And this comes from a lot of different things, right? This level disadvantage comes from your bottom lane starting to lose this lane, but you also came here and gave them a couple kills. Um, and I mean, like, you killed the Leona additionally, right? So this level disadvantage is slightly your fault, but not really your fault. But if you're trying to come into this, you're trying to save this turret, you're not going to do that like this. I would have waited for the Vayne, or I wouldn't have gone in on this at all. You don't have your R, or you do have your R? You do have your R, never mind. I guess I would have tried for that too. I thought you R'd mid. He cancels your EQ, which was good by him. So yeah, I agree with this one, and I also agree with your blue buff play. I would have played it slightly different in each situation, but I still would have probably gone for both of those. The level disadvantage thing was actually the deciding factor because that let him survive with like, 100 health. And how much does he get when he levels up, right? Um, but you should have had that. It was just the EQ getting canceled. So your pathing here is a little weird. Um, I'm gonna go back, right? So your pathing is weird. You show up top to do raptors, right? That's the only reason you're here, it seems, to do raptors. Maybe you saw Jason, maybe you wanted to stop him. But after this, right? What are the odds you show up to this play before it's over, right? You're on the other side of the map. If you're trying to show up to this play, I guarantee you're too late. I guarantee you. Because they already got the kill, they have a turret to back off to, and what are the enemies going to do, right? Well, their options are pretty limited because they can either then choose to send people down, right? And then a 3v3, right? It's a 3v3 where this they could probably disengage, or they're going to try and respond to pressure with pressure by clearing mid and pushing it up, or clearing top and pushing it up. You showing up down here means that you're either going to really try and dive this and get this turret, right? That's the main reason you'd be down here. But then you turn to dragon. You've watched my dragon rant, so you know I don't care about dragons. Opportunity cost 1, and you don't get the turret. And you lose this turret. So you trade an in turret and a kill for Infernal Dragon with this decision. And because it was so late, right? They tried to stay for that dive. They ended up having two more people die for one more, and you're going to lose another turret. So because you stayed for Infernal Dragon, right? This is why I hate dragons. This is exactly why I hate dragons. You lost a turret, Gangplank died, you lost the opportunity to get this turret, three people died for your team, you lost this turret, you also almost lost this next turret, you almost lost three turrets, and you did lose 4 kills for Infernal Dragon. That's never worth it. That's not worth it at all. 1 kill for Infernal Dragon is about even. And there's another death. Mechanically, a lot of these things are kind of bothering me. Yeah, this is... That Infernal Dragon decision cost you guys so much. So much. Like, that is probably half of this gold deficit. And if you think you're doing a great thing for your team as a jungler by getting this Infernal Dragon, you just probably lost the game here by getting this Infernal Dragon. Because you haven't taken a single fucking turret. That's all that matters at the end of the day. A row of turrets and the Nexus. That's all that matters. And let's do a little bit of math so I can kind of show you. So Infernal Dragon, right? It's like 6% or something like that, right? 6%. You have given Lissandra about a Doran's ring, right? So you've given Lissandra about a Doran's ring worth of ability power because she has almost 200, right? And a Doran's ring. However, that's just the ability power. So you've given her probably 200 to 300 golds worth of stats. And do you actually think that that extra like 40 damage whenever Lissandra goes in is going to be the difference in a fight or not? It's not. It's not. 100% it's not. Even the fight down here that you lost, it was lost because of levels and he survived with 100 health. That's not 40 ability power, or, 40 damage from your abilities. That's more than that. And if you're talking about 200 gold that you got Lissandra, right? Take the fucking turret and give her 200 gold. 200 gold is right here. So at this point in the game, you could have gotten that exact same benefit, except for added utility, because it doesn't have to just be ability power, right? Because ability power doesn't do shit for Leona. Leona could have gotten something that mattered. That was seriously a game-losing decision. You also don't buy any control wards. You need to do that. You need to do that. You have absolutely no vision control on the map. You give up Herald, and Herald's going to be dropped top or mid. Yeah, you don't know where their team is. You don't know where their team is, and you're taking these fights. Of course, you've got high chances of dying. You're pretty lucky that your whole team's over here to help you now. But if your whole team's over here and the enemy team was playing it correctly, they'd have taken this turret. Draven recalled, and you didn't know that. And now I feel like you kind of just decided to lose this game and are farming. While you're doing this, right, you're chasing down plays where there's nothing to get. If you even chased this bar down and killed him, what is available on this side of the map for you to take? Dragon's not up. Your minion wave was way back here, so you then have to push it up so then they'd have time to respond to it and push, counter your push. Or then this happens up top side. The way you're farming makes me feel like you've kind of already given up on this game at this point and are just waiting for it to end. Because this is just farming without any sort of pathing. This kill chasing has nothing to gain afterwards. If you wanted to truly make a play to come back to the game, you would want to be like sieging mid as soon as you see these people over here. And you would definitely be trading, but that's not right. You're staying on this grump. You're on this grump whenever you see these people. Herald spawns. Garen's up top. Jace is up top. Go mid and push down this turret. You're definitely trading, but you have no turrets. And top inhibitor is the best inhibitor to lose if you're going to lose an inhibitor, because you want to be on the side of the map with Baron. And if you were rotating mid, you could have potentially picked up the Draven kill here with your team. Rotating over to top, though, if you're going to be able to get them like this, is still fine. But you're losing objectives everywhere, see? You're losing objectives everywhere. At the end of the day, a kill doesn't matter. The game's kind of over just because of gold effect and stuff at this point. There's not a whole lot you can do at this point, but you definitely had opportunities this game, and you had a serious game-changing decision. Um, yeah, you lost at least two inhibitors, and then Baron's up. Game's over here. Um, so highlights that I really want to go over again. You have no turret focus. You're playing towards losing lanes, which I disagree with. If your lane is giving up early kills like that, you can then see kind of the mechanical issues that happen later and stuff like that. Generally, it's not worth it to gank a lane that's losing. The best thing a losing lane can do is stop the bleeding. But if you are going to gank a losing lane, you need to make sure you have a numbers advantage. You did not have a numbers advantage. You also ignore your team, both how they respond, are able to respond to you, and in like your choice to go onto the Bard instead of the Jace. You need to work on your counting. This fight, I think you engaged too early. The Draven one, I think that was just unlucky. You did get outplayed, but that could happen. It was also because he still had heal and stuff, but you should have expected that he had heal. Um, let's see. You don't buy pink wards. You need to buy pink wards. Your pathing was incredibly greedy without any control of your jungle or mid. Your blue side, whenever you gave blue buff away, I think that it really is a good idea to give away blue buffs. I know that I don't because I'm greedy as fuck, so you don't have to, but do as I say, not as I do, right? It helps your team in little ways. It lets her spam out her abilities. It lets her better respond to you whenever you're invading. It lets her like set up for roams because she can wave clear easier. It makes her have a better chance of carrying the game. And she is 20% of the reason you're going to win this game. Because she is 1/5 of your team of 5 people. 20% of the reason you're going to win this game. So you need to be playing like they're valuable still. Even though you think that, you're playing with people that are trash or whatever, everyone has to contribute something to win. Everyone has to contribute. So help them help you. Um, you definitely do need to work on your overall team play, though. From counting to warding to ganking the right lanes that are winning. You don't go top lane at all, which again was part of my idea of your win condition, and I also comment on how I don't think they could have done anything over here. So I think that was totally fine. But your bot lane ganks were only looking for the kills on the Draven, and they were not even going to help your Vayne because Vayne wasn't there. So if you had gotten those kills, they were selfish kills to begin with. They were selfish because they weren't putting that lane back in the game. They weren't putting Draven behind. Draven already got his kills, already cleared the waves. He's just attacking the turret. They're not doing anything for that lane. They're giving you kills. And then there was no objective to get afterwards. You're not going to push it all the way up here and attack this turret. Those are greedy plays. And I super disagree with the Infernal Dragon call. The opportunity cost, just to emphasize this again, you lost 2 turrets, and 5 kills for this dragon. That's not worth it. The gold value that it gives you is not worth it, let alone talking about anything else. Like, Infernal Dragon is all about potential, and those things are guaranteed. Alright, well, that's the end of this review. I hope some of that was helpful, and I'm sorry if I came across as a bit aggressive on this one.